Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm with Artistry Epoxy, and today I'm going to be doing a cup tutorial on this cup. It is a glitter base with an alcohol ink swirl over it. And within the tutorial, I'm also going to be talking a lot about Hyperspeed. It is a new product from Artistry Epoxy. It is a non-epoxy tumbler coating that is touchable within 15 to 20 minutes. It is awesome. This cup used a lot of Hyperspeed. So I coated 2 layers of Hyperspeed and then 1 layer of regular Tumbler and Art Epoxy to apply my alcohol inks with, and then 2 more coats of Hyperspeed on top of that. So I'm gonna be covering a lot of tips and tricks on how to mix it, how to apply it, and hopefully I'll answer a lot of you guys' questions. So let's get into it. Okay, I'm gonna zip right through this first part. I prepped my tumbler using Mattify and a prep pad. After I washed that off, I applied my paint using a makeup brush. The color is Raindrops and it's Color Fix paint, 3-in-1. So while that paint is still wet, it also acts as a glitter adhesive, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply my glitter. The color is Cowgirl by Colorflex. It's a really pretty turquoise color. Now, with Hyperspeed, you want to make sure that any water-based products are fully dry before you coat it. So Colorfix is a water-based paint, so you're going to want to make sure that that paint underneath has plenty of time to dry before you go into your first coat of Hyperspeed. After my paint dried, I did go ahead and apply my first coat of Hyperspeed, and 15 minutes later, I went in for a second coat, and here is that process. I'm just going to use the 1 mixing cup for this, and I'm going to apply my part B first. I love these little twist caps. They make it really easy. I'm just going to do $10 milliliters of each. And then make sure after you finish that you're closing your twist caps, or if you've got a regular cap, make sure you wipe it off. I always use a coffee filter and wipe mine off really well around the rim, and then you want to make sure that cap is sealed nice and tightly. That will prevent any moisture from getting in and it crystallizing. Okay, so now I've got my part A. Okay, I've got all that in there. Okay, now I've got my mix stick, and we're just going to start stirring this. Alexa, set a timer for 1 minute.
1 minute, starting now.
Now, because you have a shorter work time on this, you don't need to worry about spending as long mixing it. 1 minute to 1.5 minutes should be good. As soon as this is clear, so as you can see, this is pretty cloudy. So as soon as that's nice and clear, I'm going to stir for just a few more seconds, and then we should be good to go. You want to make sure and scrape your sides really well, especially if you're just mixing in that 1 cup. And as I'm stirring, I'm also getting along the bottom, all the surface on the bottom. Just make sure that's really thoroughly mixed. I'm not going fast. And kind of do some figure 8s through there. This is already getting pretty clear. Okay, there's our minute timer. Alexa, stop. So now I'm just going to mix for a little while longer. Okay, that is really clear. My cup is kind of tinted, so it's hard to see, but that looks great. So we're going to go ahead and put this on the cup. That looks nice and even. So I'm going to let that sit for about 1 minute, and then I'm going to hit it with my torch. This is my second coat, and I mixed up right at 20, and I still have like 2.5 left over. This is a 30-ounce cup, so just to give you an idea of about how much I used. I did use more on the base layer, obviously, because it was going right over glitter. But yeah, this was a little bit less than 20 milliliters on a 30-ounce tumbler. Okay, so now I'm just gonna come in with my torch and pop those bubbles. Okay, this should be dry in about 15 minutes and we'll come back then. So one question we've had is, can you layer Hyperspeed over regular epoxy or a fast set? Now I've done that and it works well. So I've got some regular Tumbler and Art epoxy here, and I'm gonna apply that as one of my coats and then Hyperspeed over it so that you guys can see that firsthand. Okay, I'm gonna add in my inks here. I'm wearing a respirator at this point, so I'm just gonna do this voiceover so you can hear it better. I've got Tim Ranger Pool, Laguna, Glacier, and then I've got a Let's Resin Cerulean. I think that's how you say that. I'm also gonna add in some Pinata Blanco Blanco. And I don't want to cover the whole cup. I really want that glitter to shine through. So I'm just gonna do small groupings and kind of let those swirl, but so that we get some nice open areas where that glitter is showing. I'm gonna speed this up. I'm just putting those colors right next to each other, keeping them all in little clumps. Adding the glacier in now. I'm just gonna keep playing with this until I get the color and the amount that I want. And then I've set aside some epoxy and I'm mixing in my Pinata Blanco Blanco, and I'm just drizzling that over my little ink groupings. And that's going to sink down under the color. When I start tilting this and playing with it here in a minute. I'm going to use my heat gun. That really helps to push those inks how you want them. It helps you manipulate them a lot easier. And I just get my heat gun right up on that ink a lot of times. The heat will also help thin out your epoxy and help it run a little smoother. I'm just going to tilt this back and forth, up and down, using my heat gun until I get nice movement in the ink. And I just play with it. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. I just play with it until I'm happy with it, and then I put it back on my turner. Okay, now comes my favorite part where we're just gonna add some extra sparkle to this cup. I've got All Y'all by Colorflex, and I've got Lone Star as well. And I set aside some epoxy after I mixed it up into some medicine cups. I'm just gonna mix this glitter in now. Look at this color. This is All Y'all. I love the depth of this color. It's a custom mix. It's got all different cuts, different colors of teal and gold. I just think it's so pretty. So I've got that on my mix stick, and now I'm just going to kind of strategically swirl this in. I just follow along the lines that the ink has created as it's swirled around the cup. That way it just is very organic looking, very natural and subtle, but it just adds that extra pop. And again, there's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's just whatever you think looks pretty. Now I'm going to take my Lone Star. This has just got some deeper shades of turquoise to add a little bit more visual dimension. And I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of placing that in different spots than I did the All Y'all, but just kind of swirling it through those natural lines that the ink has created. I'm going to torch this. You do want to be careful because alcohol ink is flammable, so I just try and hold my torch a little bit further away, just to help pop any bubbles that might be there, especially now that we've added the glitter. Now I'm just going to let this spin and cure overnight, and then in 16 hours it will be ready to be sanded because this is regular Art and Tumbler epoxy. And then I'll be ready to mix up my next layer of Hyperspeed and apply. all done.